Hello everybody, welcome to Book Buddies. I'm your host, Ricky Steele, also known as Steely Wheelie Automobili. This is the only show that gives you raw, unfiltered reviews from your favorite pieces of literature. And we bring you here today with our amazing co-hosts.
My name's Duke Fire, and I bring the flames.
I'm rolling the chipper wood, and I'm yelling timber.
And for this episode, we have a very special guest for you guys from the great country of South Africa to talk about his book. Off to you, Roly Poly.
Now, please welcome our guest tonight. He's waiting in the studio as we speak. South African icon, writer, political commentator, and comedian. Please welcome Trevor Noah with his new book, Born a Crime.
It is such a pleasure to have you on today, Trevor. It's always been my dream to meet you face to face. I'm just a huge fan of your work, really.
Thanks for the rave review. I'm ready when you are.
Oh, of course. Anything for you, Trevor. Roland, over to you.
Of course, without further ado, let's get right into the action. Wheelie, can we get a quick summary of what the book is about?
Sure can do. In the novel Born a Crime, Trevor documents his childhood experiences growing up in apartheid South Africa and how he triumphs over a racial injustice, a system built for him to fail, and some horrible early heartbreaks. Notably, it also chronicles the remarkable life story of Trevor's mother, Patricia, and the sacrifices she made for Trevor to become the person he is today. Issues of inequality are triumphantly discussed in Trevor Noah's scathing review of police systems and systematic racism. He also chronicles issues with his stepdad, Abel, and how he navigates a household filled with abuse and empty promises.
Thanks, Rick. From the info I got off ChatGPT, only kidding, there seems to be a large number of cultural differences between life in Africa compared to back home in the States.
Oh yeah, for sure. One example I'd like to share is actually from the book. Let me tell you about my 2 black cats.
Bad luck, right? Wink, wink.
Yeah, one day my mom thought it would be a good idea to buy a black cat. We knew that it was taboo in our area, but she did it anyways. In the US, this may be a normal thing. Maybe some more superstitious people would be a little weirded out, but nothing major. Well, one day we got home after a trip out for groceries, and we found our cats strung up, skinned, and hanging by their organs.
Ew, that's nasty.
TSPMO.
That sounds impossible.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Kitten.
Kitten who?
Quit kidding around and let's get back to the podcast.
Well, sorry about the little detour there. Let's get back on track. Trevor, I was pondering before this podcast, and I was curious. Why should I even care?
Alright, bro. This is low-key kind of important.
Please, I beg of you, tell me why.
Well, issues with oppression are still prominent worldwide. All you have to do is just look around.
How so, sweetheart?
Well, there's many issues still worldwide, like the war in Ukraine, the displacement of those who live in Sudan because of a major civil war, even the economic crisis in Afghanistan, leaving an entire country in need of help.
That's not poggers.
Yeah, alright. But I think the book represents not just apartheid, but oppression as a whole. It's such a pressing issue worldwide, and I think if it's not addressed, history is just doomed to repeat itself, and it will over and over and over again.
That's well said. What makes this such a pressing topic for you?
I mean, growing up under apartheid for me, it was so easy to think this is the only reality, that there isn't anything else. But now that I live in America, I realize that life can be so much better, and you don't always have to feel scared or that you're less than others. And I think we need to realize that this is the issue, that this issue is still relevant today.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. People think that issues like apartheid or the Holocaust are just things of the past. But if you look all around the world nowadays, there's still oppression everywhere. It needs to be addressed.
Very insightful, Trevor. Before this segment ends, why don't you tell us a little bit more about those cultural differences you were talking about earlier?
I actually have another difference that might seem offensive, but I swear it's normal in South Africa. Where I come from, the worst person around is Cecil Rhodes. He's a big reason why South Africa is how it is.
Never heard of him.
Well, he's important where I'm from. Apartheid prevented us from learning large amounts of history. For example, we knew very little about Hitler and the Nazis.
The Schindler's List guy?
Yeah, that guy. We knew nothing about him. Funnily enough, we heard that he was strong, that he affected everyone in Europe, so the vast majority of South Africa just assumed he must have been a powerful man. Well, most parents want to name their kids after powerful people, so from the very little knowledge most parents had of the Nazis, they named their kids names like Mussolini and Hitler.
Get out of town. You've got to be messing with me.
No, I'm not. I had a good friend named Hitler. Actually, he was a member of a dance crew, one of the best in town. Quite popular at the party scene.
That's so weird. I could never imagine that flying in the States.
I know, everything's different there. When I first moved to the US, it was like I was in a whole new world.
How fascinating.
That's actually the perfect segue into our advertisement.
It really is. We'll be right back with our next interview segment with our lovely guest after a quick word with our sponsor. Be prepared to have your mind blown.
Get ready for the event of the year. Everybody's going to show up to one of the biggest parties of all time, hosted by some of the coolest people of all time. Just remember, if you're not trying to party, we don't like your kind here. Welcome to Hitler's Dance Crew Extravaganza. There's gonna be a party tonight. For 3 whole days in Hitler's dance studio, there's gonna be a rager for the ages. We're free now. We're gonna do what we're gonna do. You can't stop us. And that means dance. Watch out as this dance crew takes the world by storm. If you call the event hub, you can get manuals about the many dance moves Hitler's crew will use, such as the cha-cha-cha, the Ospanava, and the boogie. Book Buddies is happy to announce that this event is going to be fire. Be there or be square in the #1 event of the year. Get ready for Hitler's Dance Crew Extravaganza. You'll never stop us because now we have Nelson Mandela on our side and he told us we can do this.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Book Buddies podcast, where we have Trevor Noah talking to us about his hit book, Born a Crime. Trevor, thanks again for being here.
Once again, thankful for having me.
I gotta say, your book had me giggling on the floor, rolling. But what really stayed with me was how much depth and heart it had, especially when you talk about your mom. I mean, she almost feels like the co-star of the whole book.
Yeah, for sure. My mom was the story, honestly. I always say Born to Crime is as much as her story as it is mine. She was this bold, funny, and deeply spiritual woman who did things that didn't make such sense to most people, but they always made sense to her. She was my guide through a very strange world, and that's what I wanted to show readers.
Boy, oh boy, you definitely conquered that goal.
Now, let's talk about the rhetorical strategies you use. Humor stands out immediately. Even in painful and dark moments, your cracking jokes are using irony. Want to hear one of my own jokes?
I guess so.
What's a racist's favorite playground game?
Oh goody, I think I know. Apartheid and seek.
You got it! And Trevor, how do you use humor?
Well, humor was how my mom and I survived. Growing up during apartheid, things were dangerous and unpredictable, but laughter helped deal with the trauma without letting apartheid and its racism destroy us. In the book, humor brings readers in. You laugh and then reflect. It softens the pain, yet makes the message stick.
And stick. It does. One moment that really highlights the book's humor is when you visit your mom in the hospital after she's been shot. While you were crying, she cracked a joke saying, "Now you're officially the best looking person in the family." It's such a powerful, yet funny line in a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, that joke wasn't just for laughs, though. It was how my family told each other we're okay.
Wowzers.
As a whole, humor was my family's way of showing love and staying strong together.
We mentioned this earlier, that your mom becomes the spiritual and moral guide to you in the story. You also use biblical allusions and religious language when you talk about her. Why is that?
Because that was her language. She was a deeply religious woman, and it was an act of resistance against persecution. So when I write about her, I reflect her speech patterns, her faith, her belief in prophecy and justice. Using biblical language was a rhetorical choice that helped readers feel her personal convictions.
Powerful. And it connects with your appeals to the reader's emotion. You build empathy, especially when readers see her suffer, forgive, and still stand strong.
OMG. I was going to say that.
Be honest. Were you thinking consciously about emotional appeal?
Honestly, I didn't write the book thinking that, but I did want readers to feel what I felt. I wanted them to admire her, worry for her, and laugh with her.
One thing that a reader from our OF noticed is that you sometimes describe intense or dangerous situations in a really casual, almost downplayed way. Like when you're talking about running from the police or hiding from an abusive stepfather. That understatement actually makes the moments hit harder. Was that intentional?
Yeah, definitely. The understatements I used were a way for me to show just how normal chaos had become. If I said, this was the scariest moment of my life, readers might brace for it. But if I say, oh, we just casually jumped out of a moving car, no big deal, it forces you to stop and think, wait, what? It pulls you in deeper.
Right. It's almost like the calm tone makes the danger feel even more real.
Exactly. It was how we coped at the time.
One final thought. What do you hope readers take away from your mom after reading Born a Crime?
Well, I hope that they take away that she is a blueprint for resilience. I hope that readers see that even in the darkest systems, one person's courage and faith can light the way, not just for themselves, but for others. She did that for me.
Beautifully said, Trevor. Thank you again for sharing your insights and your story.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for coming out with us today, Trevor. This was a great time, and we really enjoyed having you all to ourselves for the day.
We had so much fun with you talking about your experiences and reasons for writing this amazing book. But one more question for you, Trevor. Could 100 men beat a gorilla?
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay me more to answer that question.
And that's all for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to our podcast. We greatly appreciate all of your support, and make sure to subscribe to our OF run by the one and only Roland Wood. And next week, on Book Buddies, the boys will be doing a special edition of the hit novel 50 Shades of Grey, where they discuss the book's historical influence and lasting impact on society.